Ethan Hawke and director Richard Linklater had long talked about the possibility of adapting a play for film. The two previously worked together with the films Before Sunrise, The Newton Boys, and Waking Life. When Hawke read the one-act play entitled Tape, he knew he'd found the right project for both to collaborate on. The story centers around two friends from high school and a possible date rape that occurred 10 years ago. Here is the trailer from the film Tape.
The choice to respect people is actually a good one, despite people like you who insist on calling fat people fat to their faces.
What if they are fat?
Yeah! You get stranger every year. Clear! Where's Leia?
We broke up.
Tell me what happened.
Oh, I get stranger every year. You know who's out here?
Who?
Amy.
You still feel bad about Amy Randall?
Admit it. What even makes you think I did something? Because I know.
Does anybody else know what happened?
I didn't tell anyone. I highly doubt that she even remembers it.
Listen, John, you really should get going. She's only a couple minutes away.
How could you do something like that?
It offends you?
It offends me immensely. My apologizing now won't make any difference to her.
John.
Hey, Amy.
What are you doing here?
I'm an assistant district attorney.
You basically prosecute criminals?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad you're not fat.
Is that right?
I highly doubt if I wasn't one of your oldest friends, I would even possess the power to make you think twice. That's assuming you are thinking twice.
Where did you get this whole self-righteous thing? It's really not like you to have a spine.
I don't want there to be a communication gap. Tell me again what happened.
Do you not think that something happened?
Well, of course, something happened.
Don't be an idiot. They will arrest you.
It's never too late to one-up your best friend. That's very good.
You picked the most important weekend of my life to bring up something I haven't even thought about in 10 years.
So what did you do?
Can you please just tell me the truth?
I am.
Why does it have to be like this?
I'm not a very moral guy, John.
No, you just want the last word, and you know what? It's not yours to have.
I'm pleased to have joined me tonight director Richard Linklater, the three actors from the film, Uma Thurman, Robert Sean Leonard, and Ethan Hawke. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so let's establish one thing. This entire movie takes place in one room.
One room, one little motel room in Lansing, Michigan.
Shot on videotape.
Yeah, we shot it on DV.
Yeah.
Cameras, yeah.
For not a large amount of money.
No, we did it pretty quickly. And pretty inexpensively.
And we'll get around to the color correction so Uma will not have orange lips.
Yeah, those aren't her real lips.
It's a play. Mm-hmm. It was a play, as I said. Tell me about the origins of it.
Well, we should.
Was it you, Ethan?
Ethan read it first.
Yeah, I had been thinking about doing an evening of one acts, and so was getting sent a bunch of young writers and what people were working on. I wanted to do some new plays by some young writers, and found this one piece that was amazing. I ended up not really wanting to do an evening, but Rick and I had been talking about the idea of experimenting with DV, really. You know, there's all this kind of talk about digital video movies and how the form is going to be moving forward, and we kind of thought about experimenting with that. And I sent him this to see if this would be something in that context that maybe we could play with. And then Rick took it from there.
I think, like his character in the movie, Ethan had this whole thing elaborately plotted from the very beginning, and it worked out.
It was a
the way
seduction
he wanted.
to get you
Unlike the
involved.
movie, it worked out the way he
to get
wanted.
you involved. We've been working this whole movie just to be here with you.
Makes sense to me. And you came in when?
Well, as often has happened in my life in the past, Ethan called me and said, hey, you want a job? I said, sure.
The play's closed. What are you doing?
Yeah, Ethan said, there's a great one act I found, and Rick, even then it was sort of Rick may direct and Uma may do it, and it was still pretty up in the air, and I read it.
I was just saying that.
actually,
I was just saying that so that your feelings wouldn't get hurt if it didn't work out.
I was actually the sixth person he'd offered it to.
Then you want the Tony.
All right. Then you want the Tony.
That pushed you over the edge.
Then we had to hire him.
That was the shoe-in.
Friends are friends, but you know.
No, I read it and loved it, and work with the two of them was great, and Rick, and it was just everything about it was just exciting as hell for me.
And it was easy for you, huh? After that.
Oh, it's all easy for me. Life's just a dream, you know? It's just a Sunday brunch.
Between having babies, I need something to do.
Having babies being the easiest thing of all, you know? Yeah.
Tell me the story. Because we opened and we saw there a lot of your character. These are two friends, and they're discovering what? What makes this intriguing for a movie audience?
Well, it's people who've been friends for a long period of time whose lives have shifted. You know, as can happen if you're friends in high school. You've actually become very different people. But you still have this kind of loyalty to the friendship that you're trying to preserve. But over time, you get the sense that they may perhaps not really even like each other very much anymore. And one of my characters really trying to, I think is really trying to hold on to the friendship, actually, and trying to get everybody to re-explore it, to keep it alive.
This is so not how I see this, which is so funny. I would never have said that about your character, but all right.
This is why this show is perfect for this discussion.
Well, one of the things that Bob didn't mention about, I mean, one of the reasons why I think, Rick, that you liked the idea of us doing this together was that, you know, Bob and I first acted together 10 years ago in high school. So this is part of our kind of cinema past, and it's also, in a piece like this, you'd have to work so hard at creating that level of intimacy that friends for 10 years have had. And Bob's one of my oldest friends in the world.
Yeah, rehearsals, it's like we'd already been rehearsing for a month. They just came into the room.
Okay, but were you serious that you saw it totally different?
No, I'm just saying, you know, his take that his character is one of his character's desires is to keep the friendship together. I would, that's not exactly how I would put it.
But did your character want to keep the friendship together?
Of course. Yeah. My character has nothing but the most benevolent motives.
And his character doesn't.
No, please.
You know, tell me about the two characters. What's the dynamic between the two of them?
I'll tell you about the two.
Okay, go ahead. Let's get the director.
They have this, we kind of took it from, they have the same skill set, actually. They've got, you know, like a long-standing friendship, you really got each other's number. You have the same kind of skills, you're very attuned to each other. Their lives have gone very different directions. Bob's character is kind of using all those skills. Right. He's a film director, the ultimate manipulator. You know?
And he believes that Ethan's character is still into sort of throwing out a lot of
underachieving
crap.
with his life. He's a smart guy, but you know, he's a volunteer fireman who's you know, dealing pot on the side. So he's kind of underachieving.
Kind of.
You could say that.
So why do we need a third character here?
Well, there you have it.
The answer is
Why am I not home?
Yeah, why? So what's your role?
I play his ex-girlfriend that went on a date with him, apparently, that resulted in...
apparently is an important word here.
Apparently. They had some type of physical, emotional skirmish that went very sour.
May or may not be date rape.
It may or may not be date rape, and that's sort of the subject, in a way, of... you know, what's so, to me, when I saw the piece read, when they read it as a play, the dialogue is so clever, and it's so... subtly investigating this question of real character and sexual dynamics and who you are and how you choose to see your life and whether you see yourself as a victim or, you know, an aggressor or a good person or a bad person and what you base that on. And the movie really kind of probes at that with this sort of concept of this date rape, this very cliche, topical concept, with these very sort of real characters. And it was just riveting to me. Yeah. And my character is this woman who is quite ambivalent about her victim status, and quite powerful and quite
ambivalent, meaning that
she's not necessarily willing to be one.
Yeah.
Whether or not things happen to her that other people might
have been raped, but she doesn't want to be a victim.
Perhaps, but she will not necessarily take anything that way.
Won't give it to them to allow that to be their presumption. And on top of it,
won't give it to them. Yeah. Right. So it's a fun kind of emotional cat and mouse. Yeah.
Why'd you shoot it in video? Because it's cheaper, or just?
Well, I think it fits.
Did an experiment. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
how it came up, right?
It looks like a real film now. I think in the time we were making it, we didn't know if it would be feature length. It was. I think I like.
It did start much more experimentally.
Yeah, I like the idea of a film like a DV movie not being a film. Like this isn't. I think the film benefits from being shot that way. It wouldn't look as good if it was shot with a 35mm Panavision and was really clean. I like the texture of it. I think that works. But that was part of the story. It was done as part of a series for Bravo through an indigent. It's kind of like a little series within Bravo. So,
called
Indigent.
Oh,
it's a series.
They're dedicated to trying to push digital cinema forward.
So that was sort of the confines. It was like, okay, here's $100,000. Shoot this movie. So it's kind of good to have a restrictions.
$100,000 shoot this movie.
And free cameras, right?
Yeah.
And 3 cameras. Yeah.
2
Free
cameras.
actors,
Yeah.
free actors, free cameras.
Free everything. Everybody worked for what, 100 a day or
Now,
something.
you had come off of making, Newton was what, a $20 million movie?
Yeah, over 20 million.
Yeah. And were you soured
actually,
on that experience at all?
No, I liked it.
You'd like another 20 million, huh?
Yeah, I could give me 20 million. I got a lot of movies I can make. No, but
And you were still working on Waking Life.
I had made a film in between that and this one, which I had shot DV2. It's Waking Life. Ultimately, it's an animated film, but I had, by working with those cameras, I was interested in like, okay, if I ever did a movie where the image was important, here's how I would shoot it. So I had a lot of ideas on where I wanted to go with.
And also
with
from an acting point of view, I think the way it was shot suited the piece. We were very. There's an intimacy that is allowed by the lighting is much simpler when you're working with DV. The crew is much smaller.
Rick's operating the camera. I mean, so
Rick
you have
was
this
literally
heightened
right.
sense of intimacy.
We'd be acting, and Rick would be right there, and also. If you, I mean, it's maybe the most fundamental thing for me is if you don't like what you did, you rewind and do it again.
So tapes so cheap, you just
that's a world I know.
Wow.
I always describe it as the production kind of wraps itself around the actors. Most film sets, it's all about the lighting and everything, and the actors have to work hard just to be real in a moment. Where you guys would just go for 10 minutes, and we would just.
What's interesting about this, I mean, I know you're interested in this from conversations we've had before. It is the possibilities, hopefully, that it offers, because there's so much talent in this town. I mean, you guys are all friends. You know, I mean, 4 people who are friends who love the business. You know, and I assume the biggest problem is finding the project, because everybody looks for this kind of thing. Right. I mean, you hear an idea, you kick it over and say, take a look, maybe this is something we ought to do. And if you have a means of doing it, you can create things.
Yeah, but the play is always the thing, you know, the subject matter that you choose to tackle, you know, without a really substantive, you know, I mean, what gathered the 4 of us in that room to work on this was this beautiful piece of writing. Yeah. And from that, then you spin out, well, this kind of photography, that kind of photography.
Yeah, I get sent stuff all the time, but I don't ever do it. I mean, this got its hooks in me. It's
you like doing this kind of thing?
I really enjoyed this. You know, we rehearsed it for at least a week, right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. We rehearsed it like a play. And then it just sort of rolled with this very intimate DV shooting style. It sort of rolled from this very casual rehearsal in someone's kitchen into shooting it. And it was sort of felt like nothing had happened, and yet it was really enjoyable.
A week later, you got a movie.
Yeah, no stress somehow. It was like, it was cool.
Roll tape.
She thinks I have violent tendencies.
Oh, boy.
John, I never touched her.
I never said you did.
Yeah, well, she thinks I have unresolved issues, which occasionally manifest themselves in potentially violent ways. What?
I think it's fair to say she has a point.
Yeah, well, no one's saying she doesn't have a point.
So?
So what? She's got to break up with me?
She's probably scared.
God, of what? I never threatened her.
You sometimes present a threatening appearance.
Dude, we have been going together for 3 years.
So what?
So, I mean, you'd think she'd be used to it by now.
It's a tricky one, Ben.
Jeez, what's tricky?
I'm just saying it's tricky. Women these days have no reason to hang around potentially violent guys. It's not an attractive quality to them anymore. Too many other guys out there with resolved violent tendencies.
Oh, so I'm out of fashion.
How much of this can we tell without giving it away? I mean, this is an 80-minute film. How much can we tell? I mean, what's important to say to give the audience at home some incentive to understand why this was fun for you and maybe fun for them? Beyond what Uma has said to us, and kind of, you're operating in a land in which people don't quite really know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a wonderful ambiguity to the whole piece.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
ambiguity.
yeah, and it just kind of keeps building. You keep seeing them new. They'll say one line, and it'll be a new relation, new information always coming out.
Go ahead.
The characters that are created, and they were always there on the page, and from the way that the way I think this whole thing came off is they're really fully recognizable human beings. It's the thing that Uma always says, is that the goal in acting is can you put a whole human being on the screen? You know, most of the time we go see movies and it's postures of human beings.
Right.
You know, this guy's bad, this guy's funny, this guy's, you know, sexy, this guy's whatever it is, as opposed to, you know, or good or bad, and as opposed to trying, most of us are all of those things at one moment or another. And the writing of this is so dynamic that you think you understand it in the same way that we think we understand our own friendships. And that's what I I love about it. That's why it's so hard to answer, like, what this friendship is like in the movie, because it's very old, and it's a friend of ours calls the movie a good pie movie. It's the kind of movie that if you go see it afterwards, you want to go eat a piece of pie and talk about it.
We were talking about what you could do with digital and video, and I'm watching you talk, and I'm watching her look at you, and I am wondering, what is she thinking as he is talking? Is she agreeing? Is she disagreeing? Is she saying? Is she saying? I know you did. Exactly right.
Did I say something wrong?
I'm
talking too much.
Is she saying to him, I don't believe a word he's saying? Or is she saying, I didn't know he was so smart? Or is she saying, he's taking my... I said those things, and he's now putting them in his own mouth. It's coming out of his own
Every
brain.
married couple will tell you that happens constantly, both ways.
There's a great Stephen Sondheim quote that, I think it's from Into the Woods, that nice is different than good. I remember thinking about that a lot while I was shooting this. Sort of what, and you said it very early on, but that sort of what makes a good person. And I think well, maybe, I don't know about Amy, but certainly both of us are struggling before she arrives with what that means. Are we good people? Am I a successful human being based on what I've done as far as my vocation,
have
based on
anything to do with that? Does it not have anything
how I
to
treat
do
other
with it?
people, how I treat other people, how I treat women, have I been a successful human being? And then she comes in, I think it just turns everything around. And
In what way?
I think she turns everything on its head because I think
Illustrates that the way we're defining ourselves is kind of off to begin with.
Right. Yeah. Before Uma walks in, I think the audience at least has a sense that, okay, I'm trying to decide which one of these guys is good and which one's bad. Or on some base level, what is this about? And then when she comes in, I think all the conventions kind of hit the fan, and you're not sure at all anymore what good or bad means.
Is this one good? Is this one bad? Is she the victim? Isn't she not the victim? And the truth is that it's all, you know, that she may have been the victim to this situation, but she certainly is not a victim.
Right.
You know, and how much more complicated those situations really are.
And also, what really happened? It's the Rashomon thing of what.
That's really it for me.
Really
it was the Rashomon thing.
Yeah.
What
is the truth when perspective is involved?
Three different things happened in all of our memories. But we can all agree what physically happened. This glass was put on this table. But as far as how you define what that was, it's all three very
changes. It evolves.
And how it continues to reshape the present. You know, this morphing past is constantly changing your present moment, and it's totally up to how you're looking at it.
Our own relation with our past that's an infinitely fantastic, deep well there. You know, it's like the mythology we kind of carry with us of who we are based on our past.
Here is another clip, and this is a clip in which Vince persuades John to have dinner with Amy. Roll tape.
God, you haven't changed a bit, have you?
What, me?
I can remember you doing the exact same thing when we were dating.
What do you mean?
Of putting pressure on people to follow whatever schedule you've already made up in your mind.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is, but it's nice. No, it's like he stays up the night before, thinking for hours how the next day is going to go and how he just wants people to partake in his vision.
Yeah, that's not true.
Okay.
John can do whatever he wants.
I know.
All right, I'm just suggesting you join us for dinner, you know?
Why?
Well, because I'm sentimental, all right? I like it. When old friends get together, all right, is that so wrong? It makes me feel, warm.
Well, maybe John doesn't feel like it.
Now, without making any giant comparisons, is this like, any other film, is this like Rope or Kurosawa or what?
Well, I think it falls into that subgenre.
Without having to apologize, I don't have such grand pretensions.
Right. It's in the one-room movie subgenre, but I don't know if that means
it doesn't have its own section.
Thankfully, that's very small.
That's very much
small. So that's its own challenge.
How many films have been shot only in one room, and this would be on that list?
Well, I think we might win. Even Hitchcock's Rope has an exterior shot.
Yeah.
Of the hotel. We don't even have that.
So we win the one room
I think we're
prize?
the most enclosed. 12 Angry Men. Everyone wants to open it up, at least do an exterior.
And the Academy presents the nominees for the best one room play.
I think we're going to nail it.
Yeah, we got that one.
So, but tell me what you were thinking about when you wanted to putting this together.
Oh gosh, it's a tremendous challenge. Not only dramatically, that's everything, but then to make it work as a film. A real-time 80 minutes in one room. That
would speak to real time.
Yeah.
And not to make it a piece of theater. That was another one of your big challenges.
Okay, let me stay with real time. The challenge of putting it in real time. In other words, Explain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Time in cinema is always, I don't know, that's a key element of what film does that no other art form really works with. And a lot of my films have been structured by time, 24 hours, 18. I always made a joke that someday I'll do a real-time movie. And I was kind of joking, but then, you know, I read this, Stephen Belbert's play, and I was like, wow, that's the real-time movie I've always been, you know, kind of feeling my way towards.
This is 80 minutes in their life, and this is an 80-minute film.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. It's all kind of unfolding in front of you.
Why is it that there's always a danger when people try to take a play and make it into a movie? And what is that problem?
Because cinema and theater are very different forms, you know? I mean, cinema derived out of the theater, I think, you know, but a lot of them are just really boring. I don't know why. It's something
when
about
translated to film.
Yeah, when translated. Somehow there's a dynamicness that what is dynamic in theater is not necessarily dynamic on screen, and it's figuring out how to use the tools of cinema. And it's not always things like, I mean, I think in all of Rick's movies, Rick uses language a lot and relies on language a lot more than most filmmakers do. I mean, I think that is definitely true. You know, in Waking Life and Slacker, and Before Sunrise, even Dazed and Confused, these are very, very verbal movies, which is not necessarily a tool that filmmakers often rely on. And but if you do it right, I mean, that's why I think Rick pulled off the impossible in making this. This is definitely a piece of cinema. It's not a stage play. It's not a stage thing. And I don't know how that happens.
Most plays shouldn't be movies. They shouldn't.
Which is harder for you, stage or film?
It's not so much. They're both equally as challenging. I enjoy stage more for reasons there's probably still a mystery to me. I like being in control of the whole evening, and then also getting multiple chances to try different things.
You also like the curtain call.
And the curtain call's good. I love people clapping for me. I've always liked that.
Yeah, me too. Roll tape. Here's a final scene in tape. Here it is.
What are you talking about, Vincent?
I'm talking about you and John getting together there at the end of senior year. I mean, that hurt my feelings at the time. But according to John, it was less of a love affair that was bound to happen and more like two kids getting, giddy before graduation, in which case I really shouldn't hold a grudge. Right? Is that what it was?
I would say it was more of a crush that never amounted to much.
For you or for him?
For me.
Vince, it doesn't seem like Amy really wants to talk about this.
Well, why not? Come on. We're all mature adults. Why can't we talk about a high school crush happened 10 years ago?
Fine, then I'm going to let you two have this discussion without me.
All right. Before you go, I'm just curious as to why nothing came of Amy's crush for you. Amy?
Why nothing ever came of it?
Yeah, I mean, why didn't it, develop into something more serious? It wasn't like you and I got back together afterwards. I don't even remember you dating anyone after that. At least not from our school.
Well, I guess it just didn't work out.
There's no specific reason for that?
Sure there was.
But?
No but. I'm sure there was.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.